Reports claiming that Russian forces have entered Huliaipole in the Zaporizhzhia region are not true. Ukraine's defense forces destroyed Russian troops attempting to enter the town, according to the Center for Countering Disinformation and the Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council. The reports about Russian troops entering Huliaipole do not correspond to reality. In fact, Ukraine's defense forces destroyed the Russians who tried to enter the town and stabilize the situation in this sector of the front. The statement reads, "The head of the Center for Countering Disinformation, Defense Forces officer Andriy Kovalenko, and the spokesperson for the Southern Defense Forces, Vladyslav Voloshyn, confirmed this information." Voloshyn said that the command took the necessary steps to stabilize the area. In particular, additional reserves were sent to that area. All measures are being taken to prevent any Russian advance into the town. By spreading such disinformation, the enemy seeks to sow fear among Ukrainians. These fake reports aim to exert emotional pressure, undermine trust in the armed forces, and weaken the internal resilience of Ukrainian society. The center's statement says, "Defense forces of Ukraine are attempting to stabilize the situation near Huliaipole in the Zaporizhzhia region and establish an additional defensive line. But Russian occupiers are continuing their ongoing assault," according to a report from analysts from the Ukrainian Deep State Monitoring Project. Now, with the deployment of additional resources, Ukrainian Defense Forces soldiers are attempting to establish an additional line of defense and stabilize the situation. The enemy, aware of the problem, is constantly sending troops to assault our positions and maintaining constant pressure, achieving some success. The statement reads, "In particular, it is noted that Russian occupiers are being spotted en masse in the vicinity of Huliaipole. Analysts emphasize that these problems need to be addressed in order to address them and be studied to prevent future occurrences. But when manipulation, distortion, and personal interest enter the picture, the problem loses its essence and the main conclusions dissolve, rendering all efforts in vain," Deep State added. As analysts recalled, the problem worsened when the enemy entered the flank of the 102nd Separate Territorial Defense Brigade due to the failure of the adjacent unit's defense in the area of Uspenovka and Rivnepolye, from which the enemy advanced toward Zaporizhzhia and began actively pressuring Zelenski and Vysokoye. The moment someone tried to reclaim Uspenovka from the video, instead of addressing the problem, the situation worsened and reached a critical point. It was from that moment that mutual accusations and distortions of facts began, each interpreting them differently, particularly to justify themselves, the statement said. It was noted that the operational command began deploying additional resources to urgently stabilize the situation. For example, fighters from the 225th Separate Assault Regiment and other units unknown to the enemy were deployed. At the same time, various discussions began circulating in society about the unfolding of events, which were described from an individual perspective rather than a broader one. We noted the fact that friendly fire had been opened due to the unauthorized abandonment of positions and the chaos that had ensued along the front line. Specific units were immediately labeled as part of these events, which were then interpreted as blocking detachments, etc., which distorts the circumstances of the events. Analysts added that the 102nd Brigade's command was responsible for the lack of communication during these events. According to Deep State, the brigade failed to communicate with its own troops or with neighboring units, which were unaware that two entire companies of fighters would be attacking them en masse in the chaos and fog.
Footage has been released showing the Ukrainian Naval Forces units, together with Special Operations Forces, carrying out drone strikes on the Kharkiv military airfield in the Crimean Peninsula. In the footage published by the naval forces, several high-value targets can be seen being destroyed. As a result of strikes by kamikaze drones, the occupiers' command dispatch control point, the storage facility housing Orion drones, a Tor M2, a Panzer S1, and Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft systems that were being prepared on a Kamaz truck chassis were blown up and destroyed. It's worth noting that Ukrainian troops, including Special Operations Forces, have scaled up attacks on Russian military and strategic facilities in occupied parts of Ukraine and deep in Russia. The attacks include long-range missile and drone attacks. Operators of Ukraine's 412th Separate Unmanned Systems, Nemesis, brigade have destroyed 3 high-value Russian air defense systems. Bucha M1, a Bucha M2, and a Tor M2 air defense systems with a total value of $60 million were struck in an operation carried out jointly with the HUR Mod Special Unit, Kabul 9, Unit of Main Intelligence Directorate, known as HUR, under the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Video footage showing moments of drone strikes have been shared in social media. Russia's Bucha M1, Bucha M2, and Tor M2 air defense systems been integral parts of Russia's layered air defense strategy during Kremlin's nearly 4-year-old war of invasion in Ukraine. Being destined to target a range of aerial threats, including aircraft, cruise missiles, and UAVs, at medium altitudes and ranges, Bucha M1, Bucha M2 have been deployed to provide air defense for Russian forces, protecting critical infrastructure and military units. Tor M2 has been deployed to protect both forward-operating Russian units and high-priority assets. It should be noted that Ukrainian forces have scaled up strikes on Russia's strategic facilities both in Ukraine and deep in Russia.